progress.
All right. Okay, Megan, just so you know, I got the alert. This meeting's being recorded by the host or a participant.
Okay, thanks.
It's not our individual SMTC one.
Okay.
Just so you know.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Okay, good afternoon, folks. We're just in the process of letting people into the meeting. Everyone is on mute unless we request that you unmute. You can also, if you've got something you need to pass along to us, you could do that through the chat box. And we'll get started once we have a few more folks here. I think we had a few over 40 sign up, so we'll wait till we have a few more here before we get started. Oh. All right. All right, it's a little bit after 3:30, so I think we'll get started, and Megan can let people in as they arrive into our meeting here. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Danielle Kroll. I am a senior transportation planner here at SMTC, Syracuse Metropolitan Transportation Council. And you are in the Forum on Active Transportation meeting. So if that's not where you're supposed to be, then Oops. Anyway, so this is a forum on active transportation meeting. We haven't done, our August meeting was in person, and I guess it was actually hybrid. We had a little bit of virtual to that meeting, and then we had the folks from VO here, and we went out after we did the virtual piece. We went out into the parking lot and tried out some scooters, which was amazing and fun. So thank you to them for participating in August. Just a couple reminders before we get started. Everyone that's participating today is muted when you join the meeting, and you won't be able to unmute yourself unless we ask that you unmute yourself, and we'll be able to do that in the Q&A portion of the meeting. It just kind of helps us keep so that everyone's not jumping in and interrupting each other. Also, the meeting's being recorded. By joining the meeting, you're consenting to being recorded, and that will be posted on our YouTube channel after the meeting. If you don't want to be recorded, you can also watch this YouTube channel. You just won't have the ability to ask questions during that if you choose to watch through that route. And right on the screen here, if you're having technical issues, you can send a message to us at contact us at smtcmpo.org or call our office, or you can also check our website out for more information. Okay. Let's see. Oops. There we go. Okay, so the agenda today, I'm going to go through the agenda briefly. We've got our welcome and introductions, which I'll do in a second here. SMTC staff updates. That's the work that our agency is currently working on related to bicycle and pedestrian projects. We've asked our member agencies, County DOT, New York State DOT, and City DPW to share kind of the latest that they've got going on. And we've got our main speaker today, Bren Dice from Central New York Regional Transportation Authority, otherwise known as Centro, and she's going to give us some updates on the latest with Centro. And we've got plenty of time for Q&A and discussion today. So we just ask that everyone hold their questions until the end, or you can start, you can put your questions right into the chat, and then we'll get to those at the end after all of our speakers have spoken. So we'll get to that later, and then of course the closing. I'm gonna just check something real quick here. Okay. All right, so really briefly here, got to see who's on with us from SMTC. I'm just going to go through who's with us today so far from SMTC, and then you should be able to see all the participants in the box on the side, or the list of participants on your screen as well. But again, my name is Danielle Kroll. I'm with SMTC. We've got Megan Vitale, who's our Principal Transportation Planner here at SMTC. Andrew Frazier, our Senior Transportation Analyst, he's helping get everything going on the YouTube end of everything. We have a handful of our folks in the SMTC conference room. We've got Tom Bardenett, excuse me, losing my breath here, Joey DiStefano, and we also have Alex McRoberts. And I don't think Mario's in there, but I can't tell. Is Mario in there? Is it Mario? Okay, Mario's our program manager. And I think I got everybody. I hope. I apologize if I missed some of our staff folks. All right. So I want to just quickly go over our meeting controls. I'm not going to get into this too much. I think at this point, most of us I think we're about 2 years into using Zoom and that sort of thing. So just real quick, if you want to take a look at your screen, the meeting controls for where to mute and unmute and start and stop your video, where the chat window is, that's right up on your screen there. If you're calling in, you won't be able to use the chat feature unless you're on a computer or mobile app. So if you're calling in and you want to speak during the meeting, you raise your hand by pressing *9, and then that'll send then we'll send you a request to unmute, and you do that by *6. Participant conduct, I think most of us here are aware of how to be respectful during meetings like this, so just ask that everyone just be respectful of everyone else. And I can go ahead and I will start on our SMTC staff updates. Unless there's anything else, Megan, that I need to, nope, okay, great. I'm gonna get started right on that. And I do have a message here. I think everyone received it. Andrew Chatterton is here. He says he doesn't know if his ID shows it, but he's with the New York State DOT in the transit bureau. So welcome, Andrew. All right, just make sure I share that. Okay. I'm having a hard time with there we go. Okay, I'm just going to give a brief update on a handful of projects that SMTC is currently working on that have a bicycle pedestrian spin to them. Actually, many of our projects at SMTC have some sort of bike head sort of spin to them, but these are primarily focused on bicycle and pedestrian issues and concerns. So our Manlius Village mobility study is nearing completion. We held what's called a SAC meeting, a Study Advisory Committee meeting in early November to review concept plans, and you can see what that includes on the screen. We're going to be presenting those concepts to the Manlius Village Board in December and working on the recommendations chapter, and then we will be posting a draft report for public review soon. So that's our Manlius Village study. And again, if you have questions about any of these projects, please don't hesitate to send us a chat. Send us your questions in the chat. All right, another project, the next several projects are just kind of getting underway. They started either this summer or this fall. We've got the Onondaga Nation Nedrow Route 11 corridor study that was requested by the town of Onondaga and the Syracuse Onondaga County Planning Agency, or SOCPA for short. The scope of work was approved in late October. That's taking a look at Route 11 through Nedrow and the Onondaga Nation area, and the goal of that is to take a look at and determine if there's a way to enhance bus, bicycle, and pedestrian use. And our existing conditions assessment is underway for that project. Our next new study is the Cold Brook Creek Trail study. That is taking a look at the area along Cold Brook Creek, and we're looking at potential improvements for bike ped along there. Staff attended a Valley TNT meeting in early November, and to discuss the use of that goat path. You can see it there in the photo along Cold Brook Creek. We'll be attending the Meacham Area Parks Association board meeting in December. And there's an online survey that's currently active within the neighborhood seeking more details and input from residents. So we've had over 100 responses to date for that survey, and that will be open until the end of 2022. And you can see the link right there on your screen for that. Okay, our next new project, the first SAC meeting for this project hasn't happened yet. That's coming up. This project is going to focus on improving pedestrian and bicycle access to the commercial centers near Westvale Plaza, including increasing use of public transit. So we've done a little bit of initial field work for that. We conducted turning movement counts for that. And the existing conditions analysis is continuing on that project. Our West Side Trail City of Syracuse study, that project, the scope of work for that was approved in September. And our scope of work essentially outlines the project tasks and the work that we're going to work on, the things we're going to work on and look at to complete these studies. This particular project builds off of a study that we completed in 2020, the South Geddes and West Fayette Complete Streets Review project. And this particular project will look primarily at the potential for off-road trails to connect to West Side neighborhoods. So again, we just held our first staff meeting in early November for this project, and our existing conditions assessment's underway. We anticipate reaching out to the public for this project early next year. And one of the other things I wanted to mention that I don't think I have actually mentioned yet at one of our folk meetings before, but I think it's important. We meet regularly with our sister organizations, which are other MPOs in New York State. We meet with them under various topics, so in working groups. We've got a bike ped working group, a safety working group. We've got a GIS working group. There's several of those. The ones that play a role more specifically in the bike ped world, of course, are the bike ped working group and our safety working group. And so it's a great way for us to share resources and learn what's happening around the state. And kind of sometimes we'll work together on something. We've got, for example, we've got a cost estimating subcommittee right now. It'll helps us as planners if we're all pulling information from the same place. We all want to know, what is a sidewalk cost? What is a bike lane cost? That sort of thing. We've also got a request into Cornell Local Roads program to create a legal liability session for our staff. And then we've got some folks that are monitoring best practices for that assembly bill that where cities and villages and counties can reduce their speed limits to 25 miles per hour. So that's pretty new. So we've got a group kind of looking at that. So it's just really helpful for us to have this group of peers from across the state to lean on and get information from. So those are the SMTC updates. Again, if you're just joining us, please feel free to submit questions you may have in the chat. Make sure you include Megan Vitale on those. I can't always get to all of those myself. So if you can make sure you're sending those to her too, that would be wonderful. All right, so the next thing that I wanted to, every once in a while, I can't forward there we go. Can't forward my slides. So the next item that we've got going on here are our member agency updates. And so for this portion of our meeting, for those of you that are new, we like to ask our member agencies, in this case, we've got New York State DOT, hopefully County DOT, and City DPW that come in and share the latest things that they're working on in their arenas related to bike ped. So Julie, I'm seeing you first. So we're gonna go ahead and ask you to unmute, and we'll have you share what's going on with DOT. And Julie is a senior transportation analyst with New York State DOT. So go ahead, Julie, floor is yours.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me all right?
Yep, can hear you great.
Great.
Perfect.
Okay, I don't have a very long update.
That's okay. That's okay.
We, periodically throughout the year, I've been talking about the ongoing projects we have, and most of them, it's just the same 2 projects right now, but we had the sidewalk project on Route 11 in Cicero and North Syracuse, where we were filling in the gaps. And that was in construction this year, and it's going to continue until next summer because they had some delays and weren't able to get done this year. So that's ongoing. And then we had the pedestrian safety action plan treatments that we were doing on Erie Boulevard in the city of Syracuse and into DeWitt. That was in construction this year, and that one actually just finished up. So it's all set. And in that same kind of area this year, I guess as an update, we talked about traffic counts and pedestrian counts earlier in the year, and we've still been kind of progressing how we're going to start collecting data more routinely and keep track of that stuff. But we were able to put a continuous bike counter in the trail in the median at Erie Boulevard.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's new. That is brand new. I think it went in last week, so we don't have anything for it yet.
Right.
Hopefully, as we continue forward, that should start giving us some data. That's it's a piezo sensor. So when a bike goes over it, the weight will set it off, and it will take a counter. So it won't measure pedestrians. It will just measure bikes. So that should be exciting to get some information when maybe next year.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I was going to mention was kind of from that NISAMPO, Bike Ped, and State NISDOT coordinators meeting that we had in the fall. Something that was new for us was I found out that our folks in our Albany office are starting to update our active transportation plan. This fall, they sent out a request for proposals for a consultant to help them with that plan. So it's just barely getting started, but I think next year we will be working on that active transportation plan update.
Wonderful.
So
great.
That's it for me. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Julie. Appreciate it. And let's see, I think is Chris on? Do we know?
There is one call in, so I think that's Chris. So I'm going to send him a request to unmute.
Yeah, let's see. And then Chris, I think you unmute with *6. Is that right?
Yeah.
We'll see if it goes through for him. And Chris is a civil engineer with Onondaga County DOT.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Sure can. Hi, Chris. How are you?
All right, it's working.
Yes, it is.
I apologize for not being in the last meeting or so. I've just been so swamped and we're understaffed. But in any case, in terms of Bike Ped, we have a whole bunch of stuff going on, and I don't even know if I want to mention it all, but, most of the folks may know we just finished Murphy's Island. We had a press event where the trail is now open to the public, but it is the season because of the eagle population there. But by and large, the project is have a small punch list left where we have a little bit of paving to do and some final earthwork, and things of minor nature there. But by and large, that's open. And then we're working on the next piece of the project, Loop the Lake Trail, which it's gonna go from Murphy's Island over to 370 and up to the village of Liverpool. That project is in its infancy, but we're in design. But there's a lot of environmental work to do and cultural resource work, a lot of screening work, a lot of wetland mapping type things like that are important to advance the project. So I can answer questions on that as to where we are if there are any specific ones. But I'll mention a few other road projects that we have. We're starting the design of 7th North Street, where we're looking to add sidewalk on that corridor. Pretty much the whole stretch from the city line down to Electronic Parkway. We're looking at Onondaga Boulevard, which is a project in Western Lights, essentially that would go westerly towards Bay Road. We're looking at sidewalk options there. Been working with the city of Syracuse on that as well. We're looking at Old Liverpool Road, which that project is in final design, and we are looking at adding pedestrian and bike facilities on that roadway. But we're working on, obviously the design on that and how things fit. Bear Road is another project we have, looking to add sidewalk from Route 11 to the west. A certain distance that we're unsure of, but we're in the preliminary design of that project as well. So I just wanted to highlight those few projects, and we have other minor things going on around the county in terms of curb ramp installs and things of that nature. So I guess I'll stop there and turn it back over to you, Danielle.
Okay, great, Chris. Thank you so much. And again, I'm sure some folks will have questions. If you can stick around to help answer them. If you can't, then we'll just make sure we pass those questions along to you, and we'll get the answers and get them back out to our folks later. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. Okay, so I am going to provide the city update. At the last minute, they weren't able to be here today, so I'm going to. I apologize. I'm essentially going to read what was sent to me from the city, but they've got a lot of great things going on as well. So I just want to make sure I share these, and they apologize that they couldn't be here today. But they did send me updates. So here we go. Actually, let me check one thing first. Okay, great. All right. So I heard from Neil Burke from the city of Syracuse. He is with the DPW in the city. So let's see, he's there. He said they've got new traffic calming, lane delineation, and bike lanes that were installed actually this week along James Street from the city line to Homecroft Road. It's about a half a mile. And that new striping includes 5-foot bike lanes and 3-foot striped buffers. And the new striping produces uniform or narrowed travel lanes for vehicles and reinforces the 1-lane configuration for each direction to cut down on illegal passing maneuvers and speeding through there. And signage will be installed and updated in the coming weeks. So that's good news. There's some new bike lanes on Grant Boulevard from Lemoyne Ave to the Mets NBT Bank Stadium. And that new striping plan includes centerline treatments and 5-foot curbside bike lanes. Signage will be installed and updated in the coming weeks. New buffers. I think that's supposed to say new buffered bike lanes on Salinas Street, South Salinas Street between MLK and Kennedy. That project completes the missing link between 2 recent projects over the past years that led to a small gap between those. The project includes striped 6-foot curbside bike lanes with a 2-foot striped buffer. And he said that planning is underway for additional bike lanes and multimodal paths for 2023 and subsequent years. They also wanted me to mention their speed cushion pilot. New speed cushions were installed in November. DPW will be collecting radar data to determine the effectiveness of these and anticipates providing updated information next fall. 11 new speed cushions were installed to match the existing 5 speed humps from last year, and that last year was the first year of their pilot. The new design incorporates cutouts, allowing for wide track emergency vehicles to pass through without delay. The new design meets applicable standards and was a collaboration between DPW and the Syracuse Fire Department. Pre-installation speed data was collected throughout summer and fall. And he wanted me to point out that these are not installed by request. So that's something important to note. The sidewalk snow removal program, provide an update on that, the SRP. So the snow removal program has been expanded by 25% over last year to cover 120 miles of city sidewalks. Routes now connect to all city schools. The service is supplemental and does not absolve homeowners of the legal requirements to clear their own sidewalks. The service is offered once 3 inches of accumulation of snow has occurred. The sidewalk snow removal program is part of the municipal sidewalk program, which has now been in place for about 2 years. And let's see. Oh, I will note this. The city worked closely with our agency, with SMTC, to develop the framework for those programs for the snow removal program and the overall municipal sidewalk program, focusing on pedestrian demand and access to and from neighborhood amenities like schools, parks, and stores, while also layering in safety needs on the pedestrians of all ages and abilities. So again, they apologize that they couldn't be here, but I'm glad they were able to share their updates with us. And Megan put some information in the chat for you. And actually, Neil sent a couple of documents that I will be able to, following the meeting, we usually have a post with our meeting evaluation. So I will be able to share in there what Neil had sent to me as well. All right, that's city update. So let's see where we're going to next. Okay, so now we are going to turn our presentation over to Bren Dice. She's again with Central New York Regional Transportation Authority, also known as Centro. She is the Director of Special Transportation Projects and Planning for Centro, and she has graciously agreed to be our speaker today. So Bren, I'm going to stop my screen share, and then you can go ahead and get yours sharing, and we'll hopefully get you up and running.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So I am Bren Dice. Thanks, Danielle. As she
Yep.
said, I'm the Director of Special Transportation Projects and Planning here at Centro. That really means I get to do the fun new stuff. I get to work on some city and countywide big projects that we've got in the works. So just wanted to tell you a little bit about us. You may not know me. I'm fairly new here and in a virtual world. Haven't met everyone in person yet, but you know us. We're the Central New York Regional Transportation Authority. Let's see if it'll go on to the next one. Uh-oh.
It sometimes takes a second to, there you go.
Thank you. So you know who we are and what we do, but here are a few specifics for you. We operate a fleet of 238 revenue vehicles from 5 maintenance facilities, with the largest being our full service maintenance facility and admin headquarters here in Syracuse. We operate service on 90 routes, traveling more than 6 million miles annually, and provide approximately 2,500 bus trips each week of regular service. Our employee count is actually pretty far down from ideal due to an industry-wide driver shortage, but we're currently at 580 full-time and part-time employees. And our entities are Centro Syracuse, Centro Oswego, Centro Auburn, Centro Rome, and Centro Utica. We cover Onondaga, Oswego, Cayuga, and Oneida counties. Our current bus fleet, we've got a bunch. We've got fixed route buses where you go to a bus stop or to the hub, you read the bus schedule, and then you get on the bus at a designated time, ride to a designated location along a designated route. We've got Call-a-Bus for our paratransit service. This is an ADA door-to-door ride-sharing service for pre-approved customers who are unable to ride a fixed route bus. And you can book a ride up to 24 hours in advance. We've got park and rides where you can park free at a designated location and then catch a Centro bus to your final destination. We've got event services. Perhaps you're going to an SU game or to a concert at the amphitheater and you use our buses to get there directly. We've got shopper services. These buses run from specific locations to community grocery stores around town, Wegmans, Price Chopper, Tops, so you can get to the grocery store and back safely. We've got school service, where we work with the public school system in Syracuse to provide rides for students to and from high school. We also offer connecting and commuter service from Oswego, Auburn, and Fulton to the city of Syracuse, as well as college and university service. So again, we cover a large gamut of service with our current fleet. But what's next in Centro's future? Well, we're excited to be working internally and with consultants to design an on-demand microtransit service. You may have heard the buzz about on-demand and microtransit happening around the United States, actually I think around the world. Here are some examples of what on-demand looks like in other communities. This dark blue vehicle is the Flex On Demand. That's with CDTA in Albany. They have expanded into several counties in the Capital District since its inception in 2019. And their hours are Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 10:45, and on Sundays from 10 to 6. These RTS on-demand vehicles are in Rochester. They have 7 on-demand zones. And when they first put their program out, they had some hiccups along the way. So their original software wasn't working quite the way that they had intended it to. They have recently relaunched their system this fall, and they are super optimistic that the new software can handle the huge demand that they've been getting for this on-demand service. These yellow vehicles you see, that is TCAT, and they call these buses T-Connect in Tompkins County. They only offer weekend service for on-demand, and they're in the Lansing Etna community. Riders can schedule a trip to a TCAT bus stop or other common destinations like the mall, airport, post office, or medical facilities. And then lastly, in this bottom corner, I put a picture of the Downtowner from Savannah, Georgia. I know that's not in New York, but that is where I was most recently, so I'm pretty familiar with this service. This service runs from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. daily, and they're just in one zone. They're in Savannah's historic Victorian district. It was put in place through the city of Savannah to help provide alternatives to parking for downtown employees. It's a small district. There are small streets. There's not a lot of parking. So that's its purpose. Again, they use these smaller vehicles because of the smaller streets in this almost 300-year-old city. So what will on-demand look like for Centro? Well, I'm glad you asked. Working with consultants, we are working with consultants now to design the service. We are excited, and we'll start at one of our Centro properties and then expand into other Centro properties in the future. The idea is to not be overwhelmed. The one thing that we were really seeing in all the systems that we were researching was that the systems would come out and they would dramatically change in the first 6 to 9 months. So flexibility is really key, and we want to be super prepared, which is why we've hired a consultant and we're working on that now. So it will provide on-call rides. It will allow immediate and pre-scheduled notice, and it will not have a specific route. So it'll be really flexible in both route and in scheduling. In some areas that do not have frequent fixed route service, it will be available. It will allow folks to connect to more frequent service in the city center. And again, it'll have smaller vehicles and smaller service areas than our large 35 or 40-foot buses. We understand that those big buses are not the answer to all transportation solutions. It is going to be a convenient program, especially at a time when we are experiencing driver shortages. We're really working hard to still be able to provide that essential transportation to the community. So we think it'll just be more convenient, as you won't need to wait for an infrequent bus, but we'll be able to book your ride faster. It will increase in overall system efficiency. Again, on-demand service in less urban areas will allow us to run more frequent service in more urban areas. It will have a low barrier and be affordable for customers, and it's really about increasing customer satisfaction and really concentrating on providing transportation options, new and additional transportation options to our customers. So again, it's going to connect to the fixed route network. It's going to cover transit desert neighborhoods, and I was just double checking to see that I spelled desert correctly, and it's not talking about some snack we're going to have later. You know, those are areas where there is no transit, and it's going to be a point-to-point service. So you may need to go to the end of your block or to a designated spot in a parking lot, but the service will be more direct than fixed route. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like yet. It may be curb to bus line, curb to curb, or a hybrid of the two. But this white vehicle on the screen could be similar to what our vehicles look like, and they may vary from market to market, depending on the needs of each community. So vehicles in Utica or Rome may not look exactly like vehicles in Syracuse or Oswego. We're really working on honing in on the specific needs of each community. And again, we're working with the consultants now. We plan to see on-demand in our first community in 2023, with additional Centro properties to follow. I'm super excited about this project. What else is happening in Centro's future? This past year, we put out a request for proposal for a bike scooter share program so that we could help expand the service currently happening in the city of Syracuse, and again, offer Centro communities more transportation options. So here are some examples of what we've seen around the state. In the capital region, their bike share is called CDPHP Cycle, and that's where CDTA has partnered with a local health plan for the program. It's been in use about 6 seasons, and it has recently expanded to over 500 bikes. RTS has partnered with the city of Rochester for their bike share programs. This one is called Hopper in the top right-hand corner. It was launched in 2021. And they also have a fleet of 500 shared vehicles throughout the city of Rochester and throughout surrounding areas. These red bikes are called Ready Bike Share, and they are in Buffalo and Niagara Falls. They actually are in 3 separate and specific zones. So their 3 zones do not connect. They are separate and they have their own separate bikes. And they're geocoded, so you stay in your area. And they have a fleet of 400 bikes. And of course, y'all know the ones in the top left-hand corner are here in Syracuse. Those are VO bikes and scooters throughout the city. We heard at our last meeting about VO's program in Syracuse, and it was awesome to hear that the program is continuing to grow. They offer these stand-up scooters, e-bikes, and pedal bikes. So, how's that going to work with Centro? We anticipate improvements in transportation by offering that first and last mile connectivity. You could connect the community to the fixed route buses that already exist or to on demand if that is available in the area. It will be convenient and increase in overall system efficiency. And it will really allow riders to go beyond the city limits. We've all seen the bikes and scooters sitting out at the city line on Erie Boulevard and in other locations because that's where the geocode requires them to stop. So we just like to enable those customers to be able to ride to their final destinations on the same vehicle. So Centro is currently working with municipalities, universities, and VO to determine where and how expansion should happen. And we're hoping to see expansion of the program as early as 2023. So many things happening in 2023. So what else is coming for Centro? Be on the lookout for some informational sessions and a survey coming out soon. We've called the survey Exploring Tomorrow's Transit, and we've been working with SMTC on this public outreach project that you'll start seeing soon, very soon, and will continue through the early fall of 2023. Both riders and non-riders will be surveyed to help us get a better understanding of the transportation needs here in the community in the Syracuse metropolitan area. This public outreach will include more information about our upcoming BRT. Little asterisk there, BRT. I know people are interested in BRT and we are excited about BRT. This is a definite. We are working now on how and when BRT will happen. We are no longer in the if stage, we are in the when stage. However, in the same asterisk, BRT is a large and complex project, as you can imagine, and is also dependent on drivers, which I've talked about a couple times that we are lacking. So we're at least 2 years out from having the buses on the road for that program. Taking out my parentheses, maybe it was parentheses, not asterisk. So what will happen with the info gathered through the Exploring Tomorrow's Transit? Well, it will be used in long-term service planning. It will really help us answer questions like where on-demand might be best implemented, what additional connections to BRT are needed, and what corridors might be prioritized for higher frequency fixed route. So in addition to all these other projects, we're really also looking at our fixed route and saying, does this work? How can it work better? And lastly, I just really wanted to emphasize, we are not just a bus company. I hope I've shown that in our last couple of slides. We are the Regional Transportation Authority for Central New York, which is why we're really striving to understand the transportation needs of the communities and help provide various mobility options. So lastly, I couldn't leave without a shameless plug of saying, hey, Centro's hiring, you may have heard. If you or someone you know is looking for a new career, consider Centro. It's a great place to work. And they did not pay me to, I mean, I guess they are paying me while I'm saying that, but they did not tell me to say that. I'm saying that for real. Lastly, our social media is Go Centro Bus. Check us out. I also gave you my phone number and email address. And again, my last name is spelled just like is pronounced just like those little cubes in Vegas. So it's really easy, although it doesn't look like it on the screen. So there's my presentation. I know we did have some additional questions, or maybe they've come in. Danielle, you tell me what to do with questions and I'll follow your lead.
Okay, what we'll do is, actually, let me see here. We are actually up for our Q&A. I know that there were some questions, Bren, that we shared with you that had come in ahead of the meeting. Do you happen to have those with you, or do you want me to kind of, okay. So I'm just gonna, just for the folks that are on with us now, we had a question about the current status of BRT implementation, which you just addressed. We also had a question about future plans to provide services to Micron employees.
Yes,
and you already, okay, great.
We are super excited to be to have heard about Micron and be involved in the conversations. It's a little ways out, but we imagine that it will mean direct service from the hub and perhaps from other park and ride locations. We are also keeping a watchful eye on the Route 31 corridor for potential service and what might happen in that corridor as growth is going to explode.
Oh, yeah. Okay, great. There was, let's see, another question here about sidewalk to bus stop on Onondaga Boulevard and Velasco Road, I believe here.
So Centro doesn't actually install sidewalks. That would be the municipality where that intersection is located. Yep. However, we are at those, in some of those conversations that Danielle, you talked about earlier with some study teams, and certainly we will jot that down.
Okay.
But that's not something that we install.
Okay, great. Let's see. Oh, we do have a question that just popped up on my screen. Any updates to the Centro smartphone app?
Well, it is in the works. It is a slower than anticipated process in that some kinks came out, and we are working through those before we roll it out to the public. So as soon as we know more, you will know more. Okay.
All right, great, thank you. Let's see, real quick here. Thank you, Brent, thanks for answering those, I appreciate it. I think what we'll do is, Brent, I'll have you stop your screen share, if that's okay. Perfect. And I'm gonna go back to mine, which there isn't much left for me to share. However, I will go back to the PowerPoint slide. Let's see, make sure everybody can see that. And then, okay, we're at the number 5, the Q&A and discussion. And while Bren, while I kind of have you on the hot seat a little bit still, were there any, if there's any additional questions for Bren, just let us know. That one that I just asked about the smartphone came in through the chat box. The other thing we can do is we can look out for, if folks want to raise their hand, or there's a little, actually, I don't really need to share the screen at this point. If folks want to either raise their hand physically or with the, there's a button somewhere, there's a way somewhere to raise your hand on the screen here.
Yeah, it's under the reactions. So
oh, yes.
Click on there,
Thank you.
And raise your hand.
Yep. Or you can just physically raise your hand or throw something into the chat.
So Julie says, is the upcoming BRT following the routes SMTC worked on several years ago? So I'll toss that back to Bren.
Yes, so originally with that SMART study, we determined 2 routes that I should have in front of me, and those are the same 2 routes that we are considering. We're also looking at the possibility of additional routes, but we haven't established exactly what those are going to look like.
Yeah. I'll throw a link into the chat to the transit page of SMTC's website, which has a link to that SMART study as well, so people can see that now.
All right. Let's see. We did get a few questions in ahead of time, so I can at least get to some of those. There were some questions for the city, and actually, the city was able to forward their responses to me, so I'll try to get through these briefly. There was a question about if there's any plans to retrofit West Genesee or Erie Boulevard West, similar to what was done on Erie Boulevard East. So neither Genesee Street West or Erie Boulevard West have the wide medians as seen on Erie Boulevard East. So the Empire State Trail treatments, that we're seeing in the east aren't applicable for those two roadways. However, the city is working on a future TIP project. Actually, it's a TAP project, Transportation Alternative Program project, for Erie Boulevard West from about Armory Square to heading west to where it meets with, I believe, West Genesee Street. And that will provide dedicated / buffered cycle lanes. There's not a timeline at this point for that, but that is the plan to include that there. Let's see, there was another mention, there was a comment set in that said South Salina at Spalding and at Amadon are hazardous with PED buttons turned back on. And I just want to make sure I give the right response to this. Okay, yep. The city had said that the traffic signal is functioning appropriately as it should at that location. It's been field checked. A traffic foreman has looked at it. Traffic management center took a look, and it's functioning as it should be out in the field there. Another question / comment that was forwarded to that I shared with the city was, I would like to have more bike lanes accessible for myself and the rest of our community. And the city's response was that they're working on adding more bike lanes to city streets. Currently, there's a number of projects in development, and I just shared a few of those. The new Salina Street bike lanes were extended south to Kennedy Street last week, and that increased the bike lanes to a length of 1.8 miles there. And he did want me to mention that several projects were deferred this year due to contractor delays. So I know that's been a little bit of an issue with some projects. Let's see. Oh, there was another comment about there needing to be more PSAs to drivers regarding share the road, safety with bikes, as well as do's and don'ts on the road. A couple of years ago, SMTC worked on we'd actually taken some PSA, public service announcements, and kind of where we were able to work those into shorter clips, and then we were able to get, I believe it was Spectrum was able to air those on a bunch of different stations. We did that in either 2 or 3 installments, and it's been a little bit since that's happened. So I can see in the future if we've got. I can ask in the future if we've got room to add those back or get those back, because there is a cost associated with that. But that's something we'd be able to use our planning dollars for. So it never hurts to continue to get the word out there about safe biking, safe walking, all of that. So those were the questions that came into the city ahead of the meeting. And there was also a question / comment for County DOT. Chris, you had sent me a response to this. I don't know if you're still on, but I'm gonna share the question or comment. It said northbound bike lane on Electronics Parkway abruptly disappears at 7th North Street / exit 37 intersection. And you addressed some of this when you spoke earlier, but I just say that he did want to mention in his comments to me that they consider bike lanes when performing capital projects, and they look for opportunities to add them where it makes sense. And for the most part, county roads, when they're being redone and when they're being reconstructed and when there's room, they try to make the shoulders pretty wide. So if they can't do bike lanes, they're at least trying to get the shoulders widened in that area. So Chris, if you have anything else you wanted to add there, I don't know if we can. If Megan, would he have to unmute himself?
I sent a request on.
Oh, okay. All right. If he wants to chime in, we'll let him do that. Let's see. Oh, there was another question. I don't want to forget this one that came in. Peter, I believe this one was from you. Are SMTC and local planners considering participatory planning as SMTC studied in their 2019 Community Streets white paper? That is a project that we can point to it's on the SMTC website. And I just want to make sure that especially Peter, that, we did pass that along to the city, and we're trying to work on coming up with a way to do that, and also a way for SMTC to somehow help fund that process. So it's still one of those things that's in the works, and it's something that we're talking about. So.
And I want to know, I know Chris unmuted, so I want to give him a chance to speak, but I did, Peter, I did see your comment, your question that you typed into the chat, which was basically the same question I think that Danielle just read out, but maybe with a little addition about participatory planning techniques at bus stops. I do just want to note that the Community Streets White Paper was kind of a guide for tactical urbanism, which are meant to be pop-up, kind of temporary installations. That's not guidance on permanent projects. So I just wanted to make that clarification. But I do want to give Chris a chance to chime in on that question of the county, and Peter, if we need to revisit, if you want to revisit the question about the community streets, we can. So Chris, go ahead if you are still there.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. No, I'm going to be losing service, and that's one of the reasons why I chimed in. But somebody had a comment before about sidewalk at Onondaga and Velasco. Our project starts at Velasco, even though it's within the city, and heads westerly. So as part of our design of Onondaga Boulevard, we're going to be looking at adding sidewalk there and working with the city on where we're going to put it. Obviously, we consider where bus stops actually are, and how we can kind of mend everything together. So I just wanted to answer that question, and any others before I lose service here in the next few minutes. I'm just on the road, that's all.
Okay.
Be safe.
Exactly. I don't think there were any, I don't see any other questions for you at this point, Chris.
Super.
But if any come in, I'll email you.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Emily asked, are there plans to connect the Loop the Lake Trail and or Creek Walk to other bike paths in the area? Specifically, I would like to see a safe corridor toward the Bear Trap Creek bike path in Mattydale. Any connections toward North Syracuse and Salina would be nice.
Well,
go ahead, Chris.
No, from my perspective, I mean, we're laser focused on getting the Loop the Lake Trail completed. I know there are different offshoots of the trail that people have looked at over the years. I know the older study that SMTC did there, actually I think the city did, I was involved with, was the lakefront planning study. Although I think that it's titled a bit incorrectly, it did look at all the different connections of trails that would eventually connect over time. And, the county, at least at some point when we can have more resources to complete some of these projects that are high priority for us. I think we're going to be taking a look at what's next. How can we make these connections further down the road? And so that's sort of at least the county perspective at this point.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate
Very
that.
welcome.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Chris. And a couple other questions. Andrew, that was just wanting to say hi. Okay, that's not a question. Barry says, does SMTC anticipate taking any action or otherwise engaging in the 2 Renew 81 court cases? No, not to my knowledge. I would assume no.
Yeah.
Peter King also, yes, some places are using pop-up events and planning outreach for local community planning. Yes, again, the community streets guidebook was intended to be guidelines for these kind of temporary installations, pop-up projects as a way to test out interventions that could possibly be incorporated into longer term planning. So that still needs to be vetted with the city. That guidebook is in draft form with the city. Mm-hmm. But we do know that's something that they're thinking about. Brent has his hand raised. So let me ask you to unmute.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yes, hi. Thank you very much. There's a lot of great information that has been shared, and I appreciate that from different departments. in different venues. The question I have relates to the as an automobile user, which I realize is not the primary focus of a lot of these projects. My issue is with visibility, particularly sometimes at night, but also during the day when there's a new curb put in that separates a bicycle path from the traffic lane, particularly when it's 2 lanes that are made into 1 lane, like particularly the Erie Boulevard project. When you're making a turn from a side street into the boulevard and you only have the 1 lane now from automobile, the curb is not very visible even during the day and sometimes at night. I know there's been some, at least on Erie Boulevard East, some upright pylons, maybe they're plastic or something, but they're not overly visible. And if you're concentrating on making a safe turn and watching traffic, the curb has limited visibility. And I'm wondering if it would be possible to consider painting that. In my limited travels abroad, there are some countries where curbing is often painted white or yellow or black so that it's very visible to automobiles. And I realize in this climate, the curbs are sometimes covered up and painting is problematic because of the weather, but it seemed greater visibility of curbing would lead to greater safety, because I know people who have run into the curb, particularly when making a left turn into the boulevard or something, and you have a lot of things to keep track of, and finding the lane shouldn't be in my opinion, shouldn't be the challenge it is. So just a question, maybe that's the city DPW, or maybe it's the county DOT, or maybe that's a state regulation, I don't know. Thank you very much.
Okay, if we can't get you an answer today, I can follow up after these meetings. If there's questions we can't answer on the fly here, we'll post them to our website, and we'll send an email to everybody so that you can find the answer. So I don't have an answer for you at this minute. I can't answer your question at this minute, but we'll see what we can find out for you. Before I forget here, there's a message that came to me from David Long. It says, I noticed vehicles parking in bike lanes and blocking both vehicles and bike lanes in some tight areas. What can be done to plan for these illegal parking, for legally parked cars? That's a great question. It's something that we try to look into here at SMTC, is the enforcement aspect of bike ped planning and bike ped projects. I would start honestly by contacting the community within which this is happening. If it's the city of Syracuse, I believe the city still has that city line where you can call. But I can look into exactly what that is. But that's where I would start. The city, and also to police departments too. I know that's probably not the answer that you want, but that's, unless Megan, if you have a better thought on that, yeah, I think that's an enforcement issue. Let's see what else we missed here. Oh, and just I want to make sure I mention, Anika posted, hopefully people saw that in the chat, that it's great to have the PSAs that were mentioned earlier out during Bike Month in May, and even before, as great as the weather breaks, and even currently, because people are cycling and some only can bike. It's their only opportunity to their only form of transportation. So yes, I hear that.
Martha Ours posted a comment, I think this went to everyone, so probably I'll see it, about Providence Services. And yeah, that is a service that we are aware of. We did a study called WorkLink a few years back, looking at these sorts of, well, many options, one of them being these kind of smaller van pool services. And I think, I'll let Bren chime in if she wants, but I think, they are not looking to replace those things. Those things will still be an essential part of the community. Centro is just looking to provide additional services, and especially as you know, the region grows, hopefully here we'll need all of these pieces of the transportation system. And Anika mentioned that Jubilee provides a rides to work service as well. And yes, we're aware of that one as well. So Brent, is there anything more you want to say on that?
No, you hit it on the head, Megan. We have talked to Providence in the past, and I'm sure Jubilee, and certainly don't want to take over, just want to provide additional transportation options for folks.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Just want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything or anyone here. I think I hit up all the questions that had come in ahead of time. I just want to say, has anyone else got any additional questions?
Not seeing anything else in the chat yet.
I'm not either.
Nobody has their hand raised.
I don't see hands raised. What I think we'll do next is, Megan, are you able to put, so we've got a meeting evaluation form that we've shared, through these meetings before, and asks similar questions. It asks the same questions every time. Is this a good meeting time? Is there a different meeting time that you'd prefer, different time of day? We've had a few folks want to meet later in the evening or maybe during lunchtime, but Megan posted our meeting evaluation in the chat. If you would take just a couple of minutes before you log out to fill that out for us, that way we can kind of get an idea if we should be moving around our meeting time or maybe try another meeting time at some point. The other thing that I wanted to mention here is meeting topics. If there's anything, we'd like to try to keep it somehow related to active transportation, bicycle, pedestrian, scooters, that sort of thing. But if there's another topic that we could address during one of these folk meetings, that would be great to get some ideas from people for what you'd like to hear about. So we'd really appreciate that. And yes, there's a question about accessing the recorded version. That will be posted on our YouTube channel, and Megan dropped in the address for that, smtcmpo.org/watch. All right. Am I forgetting anything, Megan? I just want to make sure I'm not.
I think so. I think you got it.
All right. I really want to thank all of you for being here today, and an extra special thanks to Bren Dice from Centro. We really appreciate you taking the time to fill us in on everything that's going on with Centro, and also to Chris and to Julie for sharing your updates from your respective agencies. Really appreciate that. And to all of you for being here with us today. So I think we will call that a wrap.
Yep, I just did post. Next meeting will probably be in March.
Yes.
We've been doing these about every 3 months. So,
Yep. Yes, great. Yeah, and stay tuned. That'll probably be another virtual meeting. It seems to work well. All right, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful evening, and we hope to see you in March. Thanks, guys.